Hey, what's up, guys? I am about to do some fun stuff. You're looking at me. Let me minimize this. What I'm going to do today is, well, I'm going to continue on with what I've already been working on, which is letting Chat GPT do all the work. I was working on a webinar a couple days ago, and I asked Chat GPT a couple of questions on how to do something easier than a Google search. And as I was doing it, the thought occurred to me that I could probably get most of a webinar or presentation demo, whatever it is that you might be working on, done by mostly copying and pasting from Chat GPT responses. So that's what we're going to do today. The goal here is to first get MySQL installed on an Ubuntu server, which I've done before. I actually have a playlist to do that already. But what we're doing today is we are going to ask ChatGPT to build us an Ansible playbook that will install MySQL on an Ubuntu box. So I've already started on that, and so far it's failed miserably. Let me switch to the right screen so you can see what I'm doing here. The playbook that it gave me is throwing an error here. An exception occurred during task execution. See the full blah, 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 blah. If you're using the module, expect the file to exist on the remote machine. Right, it doesn't exist. Do not find or access MySQL. Okay. I'm pretty sure I know what's causing that if we go look at the playbook, but let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this. So we're going to switch over to our ChatGPT conversation, where I told it I need an Ansible playbook to install MySQL on Ubuntu. Let's see here. Yeah, there is no configuration here, so it's trying to do something with a configuration that doesn't exist. There it goes. We did that. So let's tell it we got this error. And see what ChatGPT has to say about that. That's because we did not create that file. So it's basically telling us we need to create that template folder. So we're going to copy that code, and we're going to create the file. Actually, we shouldn't have copied the code yet. We're going to create this file here. Let me make sure you guys are looking at the right stuff. Oh yeah, you were looking at the right stuff. So we're going to copy that code. We're going to come over here to Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to create a new templates folder. And then we're going to create that new file, give it the name, not the contents, but give it the name that ChatGPT told us to give it. There we go. And inside of that file, we're just going to paste the code that ChatGPT gave us. Boom. Save that file. And now that we have that file, we need to commit that to version control. By the way, as you can see here, we are not working directly against the server. This is called mysql.cnfj2. And push that. So I'm working against a GitHub repo called Ansible Intro. See there, my Ansible Intro GitHub repo. And I am committing the changes that I just made, creating that new file, and the templates folder. Oops, let me double check to make sure it was the templates folder. Yes, templates. And pushing that over to GitHub. So I can now, by the way, if we look here, you can see this is my Ansible intro repo. That file isn't here yet, but if I do a quick refresh this page, we should see that that templates folder is there now, and that file that we just created is also there. So we can go to our Ubuntu server and do a git pull over here and pull that file down. Now you might be asking yourself why I go to all that trouble. Well, we want to have a traceable set of documentation so we can tell what happened to the server. Both if we have success, we want to be able to duplicate that success, or if we have catastrophic failure, we want to be able to figure out how that happened so we can avoid that happening again. This way, I've made my change. I didn't have to use the crappy little editor, the V editor in Ubuntu, and I was able to use VS Code. Also, when I save my changes get saved into a GitHub repository that I can go back and review the history. I can see who made the change, when the change was made, and even a little bit of notes about why that change was made. So anyway, long story short, our changes are safe and we can have consistent configuration going forward. So I'm going to run this playbook again. Actually, before I run that playbook, let's take a look at what's in that configuration file. Because pretty sure we don't have much of anything useful here. That doesn't look like useful information. Let's go back here and look. That's not what's supposed to be in that file. That's the reference to that file. So, since we're just copying and pasting from here, let's ask it what should be in that file. There we go. So let's go and give it the appropriate address. And for that, I'm going to come back here so you guys don't see the screen there, because I'm going to need to grab that IP address, and that's going to make me log in. So again, real quick, what's happening here is I'm going to update that configuration file with the IP address and details from the server that we are going to drop MySQL on. It's actually the Ubuntu instance that we're working from currently. So just getting the local IP address, which now, as I recall, should have been right there at the top of the screen, but I've got it now. So here we go, IP address. Jump back over to here. Oops. In Visual Studio Code. Okay, now you can look. Go back here. And oops. Here. Oh man, I just overwrote the IP. Oh well. We'll drop that in the file. And the IP address here is not there. Go here, grab that IP address one more time. And in Visual Studio Code, we're going to put that right here. All right, now that we've got that file updated with the correct information, we can commit and push updated bind address. Excuse me. All right, now we're going to commit and push, get that over to our server, and once that's in GitHub, we can pull it down to our Ubuntu box. Oops. There we go. And now we can run that playbook again. While that's running, because a watched playbook never runs, let's take a look at what that playbook is doing. Install MySQL. So now we've got our configuration file out there properly. It should be able to copy that file to the destination, which gives all the details of how MySQL is supposed to run. It should be able to make it past this configure MySQL server step and then restart the SQL Server service. So up here, we just installed the client and server packages. You can see MySQL Server and MySQL Client, making sure that they're present. And then, as I said, the configuration is just where we're setting the ports and the IP address. And then making sure that our service is started. All right, let's take a look. See how we did. Oh, no. Let's see, what do we got here? Unable to restart the MySQL service. Job for MySQL service failed because the control process exited with error code. Blah, 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 blah. MySQL service. Okay. Again, I have an idea what might be causing that, but let's ask Chat GPT. What do you got for me, Chat GPT? So let's see if the MySQL service got installed, which I'm pretty sure it did, because we got the error not on install. It was already there. Not on configure, we made it past that. Not on start, it was started. It's just the handler that had an issue. So that should mean that if we run this, we do have the SQL service started. So that's good. Our issue is just with the handler here. So what did it say? It said the error message indicates the attempt to restart the SQL service failed. We can SSH. We know we're good. We're on the server already. On the following command, view the logs related to the MySQL service. Let's check the logs. Service completed, consuming resources. Everything looks good there. Well, I thought I knew what had caused that, but you know what? Let's do this. Let's run the playbook again and see what we get. Everything should be installed and configured already, so hopefully there won't be any changes. There we go. So this time there was no handler run to restart because it wasn't triggered by that initial configure because it was already done. So we made it through error-free. We should still check to see what's causing that, if we can avoid that on an initial run. But my guess is that the server was running kind of slow and it didn't get that restart message, or got that restart message before it was ready. As you can see, we don't get that error running through the second time, so moving right along. Next steps. Let's just tell ChatGPT what happened. My SQL installed successfully. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say about that. Well, it looks like ChatGPT is thinking the same thing that I was. I'm using a kind of a slower server for this run, so it may be just that the restart was requested before it finished installing and configuring the initial server. But anyway, it works, so let's move on. So next things that we need to do here are make sure that our app can connect to our server. So let's look at our configuration here. I'm going to take this MySQL configuration and I'm going to give it to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT to update the data connection. Back here for our app. There it is. Give me a new file called application.properties file with a JDBC connection that matches my SQL installation using the configuration. So with that, it should be able to give me an updated connection string to drop into my file. I was thinking about that's right. I forgot we got to deal with that part too. So, what is the default? Now we've got a script file. I think it might be in that. No, it's not in here. Where did I put it? Is it in this project over here? There we go. I thought I created one great big file. Add tables. Now, I was up last night messing around with this, and I created the file, but I don't know what I did with it. I created a SQL file, and what did I do with it? I knew that was going to happen. I knew I was going to go to bed, and I was going to get up the next day and not remember where I hid that thing. All right, bear with me for just a moment. I've got to find the missing file. Okay, I found it. I just scrolled up in the Chat GPT window from where I was last night, and I found the script. So I'm just going to create a new file here called create membership db.sql. Booyaka. All right. Boom. Okay, let's try that. Oops. Try logging in as the root user. Okay. What does that mean? By the way, I've never done this before. I'm a Windows guy, so normally I do these types of things in Windows. So I actually would have been asking ChatGPT some of these questions anyhow. But this is an experiment to see how far we can get with just copying and pasting from ChatGPT. It's not running, or there's an issue with the server socket file. So let's do the status thing. Huh. Can't start server, bind on TCP/IP port, cannot assign requested address. Do you already have another MySQL ID server running on port 3306 aborting? Interesting. That I'm not sure about. Let's see if ChatGPT knows how to fix that. Okay. Oops. I meant to push that also. Oh, there it goes. Also, there's no database setting here. That shouldn't keep us from connecting, though. All right. Let's try stopping the service too.
Here we come, here we come.
Well, that restart's still killing us. But let's run again. Again, I think the restart's just because it's too slow. connect though. It's running. All right. Well, on that note, that's enough of this for now. We got MySQL installed, but it can't connect to it. I'm going to call that lunchtime, and we'll come back to this after lunch. Deuces.